I hope you guys are enjoying Debruary so far. In this evening's show, I want to explore the concept of soul ties. It's an excuse that a lot of women give for why they can't stop chasing after, lusting after, thinking about, wanting to talk to, and making themselves available to men that they don't even like. I mean, the guy has just treated them really badly. um, they've broken up, but for some reason, these women feel like they're still connected to this guy somehow. They can't move on. They think about him all the time. They want to be with him. They stalk his social media pages. They drive by his house. They try to show up places where he is. If he calls, they're just too excited to see him. They have this report having this longing for this guy's energy, like I said, but even though they know the situation is toxic. So that always intrigued me, and how the people would say, well, it's because we have a soul tie. And they're kind of, this just blowing it off as this soul tie thing. So I'm like, okay, well, what is that all about? So I started doing research, how I am. And I wanted to share with you my findings and conclusions. Let me start with the conclusion. It's a bunch of nonsense. Okay. What people say are soul ties are nothing but a combination of being duped by a narc. Okay. Narcissists seem to be like the most dangerous thing ever for women. Okay. So let's hold that thought. Number one, like I said, you got duped by a narcissist. You got, it was part of the discard phase, and you were just left reeling from it until you understand what happened and how you got played, and then learn to let that go and move on from it. You're gonna stay in that cycle of narcissistic abuse. And if you get rid of one narc, you're just gonna get another one because that's something that you're kind of like addicted to that feeling. Okay, that's one thing. The second point about soul ties is that they're based in Christianity. So if you like me and you don't believe in all that stuff, and to you it's nothing but hocus pocus, well, you're also not going to have any kind of association with a soul tie because they, to me, are equal, like non-existent. So what I found that when I was looking at soul ties, the people who are talking about them, every time they talk about it, they reference Christianity. They reference the Bible, they reference God, they reference Jesus in some way. And what they do with that information is use it to beat women over the head. It's just another tool to guilt trip women and, to put them in the category of some kind of Jezebel or something. You know what I'm trying to say? And I'm trying to be really good during February with my language. But it's just a tool to guilt trip women and to prevent them from enjoying themselves in a variety of relationships with a variety of men. It is preached that you have these soul ties and that it's going to quote make you um, unable to have a healthy relationship and unable to get married because you would be, according to this theory, every time you have intimate relations with a man, he leaves a bit of himself on your soul. Now, I don't know about you, but okay, so how does that happen? Okay, so I could see like if the guy was really, really good and you sit back and you have wonderful memories of that moment. Well, what about the guys where it was so forgettable that you can't remember nothing about it or him? Okay, is that a soul tie? If you were married and then you got a divorce because he was doing all kind of crazy stuff to you and can't get away from him fast enough, you made sure that you snuck away and you did everything possible to cut ties with that fool in all way, shape, or form. According to these people, you still have a soul tie, whether you think about him or not. According to them, he left something on your soul, and so you have a soul tie to him. And so it goes on, and there just seem to be a lot of holes in this theory. But one thing I did notice though is it needs a woman who is willing to be a victim. That's the mentality. You have to have a willingness to be a victim. You have to feel like something outside of you controls you more than you do. That's a victim mentality. And we're going to have somebody on this month talking about that and why you guys, how you get that mentality and how you need to let it go. But when you put it all together, that's what it is. So you have Christian guilt tripping of women about sexuality. You have them promoting that you only need to do it with your husband because otherwise you have a soul tie that's ungodly. I heard that phrase so many times it just made my head spin. Or you are a victim of a narc, and it's probably like a combination thereof. But when you put all of that together, you have women who believe that they cannot, that they are incapable of separating from these men and moving on. So then you think, okay, what is this all about? What is a soul tie all about? It is something that they say ties you to someone mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually, and then sometimes physically too, um, in a way that you find it very difficult to separate from that person and to stop thinking about them. Okay, to stop feeling something for them. And like I said, I think in a situation where, a woman is setting herself up to feel like this is being done to her, she's going to be more receptive to that mentality and adopting that belief system. If you believe that you are fully in control, like a grown woman in the video last night, you're a grown woman. Only you control what you think, only you control what you feel, and only you control what you do. So by saying that this person has this tie to you and you're incapable of controlling yourself, what does that make you? That's not a grown woman attitude. That's a child attitude. Mommy or daddy or somebody other than yourself is telling you what to do and you're doing it. As you can see, I really had a problem with this whole concept. Another thing that was very interesting too, is that, and this may apply to some of you, is that you were what they call trauma bonded through some kind of horrific experience, some kind of emotional trauma. Usually it's a very bad relationship that's put you through the ringer and you suffered in it, yet you stayed. You suffered trauma with that. I mean, sometimes the trauma is really deep. I mean, like they put you in a hospital or something. You know what I mean? There could be something that's very, very serious associated. He tried to murder you. I mean, whatever. There could be all kinds of really heavy duty things that associate the trauma. But when you boil down to it, what you have there still is a narc. So I circle back around to my first theory. This is these types of relationships where the person can't let go is the codependent. The person who is doing the hurting and who they feel so tied to is the narc. On this channel, I have a video. I think I did it, I don't know, last year, 2 years ago, about narcissists and codependents that break that down. But I'll kind of, reiterate it here is that, narcs want to do everything they can to break you down emotionally and tie you to them. That's their goal plan. That's what they do. The intermittent reinforcement, there's another video on the channel about that, how they do you. Breadcrumbing, there's another video about that. So it's all of these are techniques that narcs use to get you focused on them. Ladies, when you know the game, you can fight it. You don't go along with it and you don't let them run you like that. Now let's talk about the role of what a codependent is. Let's talk about symptoms of codependency because it's a word that's tossed around a lot, but I don't know if a lot of people really understand that that's what they are. Sometimes it starts, well, usually it starts in childhood. You have some kind of situation where you feel like you have to take care of other people. Sometimes your parents put you in that position. So you're worried more about other people's feelings and their safety and their health and what food they've had to eat and if they're comfortable and if they're happy. You worry about them more than you worry about yourself. And you try to do everything you can to keep them from having problems while you sacrifice yourself to do it. And if they don't need you anymore, you're shattered, because that's how you get your sense of identity, by being needed and taking care of other people. Even when they don't need you to, you still do it anyway. So when you are a codependent, these are some symptoms that are typically exhibited by people that are codependent. You have low self-esteem. You feel that you're not good enough. That's why you feel like you have to earn people's love and devotion and commitment. You jump around through hoops trying to make yourself appear to be lovable, for them to love you. That's what you want more than anything in the world. That's what you want. But they're going to hit you with all kind of feelings of shame and guilt, because alternately, especially for men, even though they might like the fact that you're doing these things for them, deep down inside they know that they're being just a scum bucket, and they should be telling you no and stop taking from you like that. So they set up a dynamic where you're like this giver. You just give to people, just even like I said, even when they don't want you to. There you are, giving to them, trying to take care of them, and the dudes are just taking, and they give little to nothing back to you. Okay, so when they decide that the relationship is over, you're just tossed around because you don't know what to do with yourself. Your whole identity is tied up into taking care of someone else, doing for someone else, looking after someone else, paying attention to someone else, being up under someone else. You don't even know how to be alone, a lot of you. You can't stand yourself. So you got to be up under some man all the time. People pleasing is another one. Um, Codependents don't think they can ever say no. And they struggle with saying no. I had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and she said she feels no, she struggles to say no to people because she wants people to like her. And that she feels like by, saying yes or being agreeable or whatever, that that people will like her, and that'll be a positive thing. And I mean, it might be if you have a person who's appreciative of the efforts that you put out towards them. But in a narc situation, they just feel like, well, whatever. And they just take that and just say, well, what else are you going to give me? I need more than that. And so there you are, giving them more and more and more and more and more. All right. Poor boundaries. And it's like poor, sometimes some of you don't even have any. Do you even know how to spell boundaries? You have to put up a line between yourself and get your needs met and theirs. And most of you just don't do that. And these are kind of people who, get involved with narcs, because they like to take and you like to give. It's a perfect pair when you really think about it, but it's by you not having any boundaries, it just makes it really easy for them to just come in the door and use you for everything that you got. You just don't know how to say no and how to say stop and that's enough, and to back away from them until you are absolutely depleted and they have just dogged you out to the ninth degree. Then you finally might say something. Maybe. Okay, another point. You're very emotionally reactive. When you are codependent, you get in your feelings a lot about everything. It's really, you just overreact emotionally to any statement or any event that happens in your relationship or around you. Um, you become very defensive about things that you don't agree with. Whereas, someone with high self-esteem and good boundaries was like, well, you're entitled to your opinion, but that doesn't change anything for me. I mean, it's nice to hear your view, but that's interesting. And then it just blows off their back. They don't take it personally. Whereas codependents take everything personally. It's like, oh my God. Okay, you do caretaking. You want to feel in control. That's why you take care of everybody. You have very dysfunctional communication styles. You have trouble with time when someone wants you to express your thoughts, your feelings, and your needs. You can't do that. You struggle. I don't know. I don't really care. Whatever you want. That's dysfunction, ladies. That's not how you do. Put your grown woman on. Your big girl panties. Come on now. And then this is the one that really, these points here, what follows, are why you feel like you have these, quote, soul ties. Obsession. Codependents love to obsess over things, mainly over people. That's all you think about. That's all you talk about. You've had those friends, right? Where they just always be up under their man. They can't stand to be around, be away from him. As soon as they are, that's all they talk about. You've had friends like that? I know I have. They were not friends for long, but that's how their whole world revolved around this guy. Even though he was hurting him, they're still thinking about him and they still want to talk about him over and over and over and over to just never anything about themselves, never anything about their own goals and their dreams and what they're doing to progress their own life. All they want to talk about is this man, what he's doing, what he's doing, where he is, who he's with, all this kind of stuff. Even though you're broken up, still thinking about him and what's going to be good for him and what he might need and all this kind of stuff. It's just ridiculous. Um, Codependents are, of course, dependent. The number one fear they have is of being abandoned. Okay, and the idea that this person left them is really, it yanks at their very core. So here they are chasing after this person and wanting to be with this person. They don't want to admit that they're being stupid, so they kind of chalk it up to some outside interference, some outside entity called a soul tie. Okay, I want you to understand where I'm going with this. This is a joke. This is nothing but an excuse to continue to do self-defeating behaviors and to continue to hurt yourself. Even though I've been out of the situation, you're out of the relationship. The situation was just crazy toxic. The man used you. He didn't love you at all. All he did was do everything he could to hurt you and set you up to be used and then use you and then discard you, because that's what narcs do. They love bomb you and then they disappear. Okay? Then they come back. There's an intermittent reinforcement. Give you the few little crumbs and, get your attention back focused on them. And then they dump you again, disappear. Can't find them. You get frantic, chasing them down, wondering where they are, what you do. Okay, so I want you to understand this is nothing to do with your soul. This has to do with your opinion of yourself, your sense of value, and your absolute refusal to accept reality. That's all that this is. So y'all can put all these little fancy imaginative names on it and call it all this fancy stuff and bring in God and Jesus and everything else that you want to make it sound palatable to people who don't think well like I do. So, I'm just analyzing all of this and it's a bunch of garbage. It's trash talk. It's excuse making. It's weakness of the mind. Get your minds right. I don't ever want nobody on this channel to come in here talking about, I have a soul tie. I just can't. I can't. You can. You just don't want to. Admit it. Stop with this. This is like weak, ineffectual lack of womanhood and lack of strength. Where's your spine? I mean, it irritates the hell out of me, to tell you the truth, for women to be so silly. And then you let some man come into your life and tell these men are promoting this stuff all over the internet. It's just, the same thing with, what was that other thing they called it? Womb ties. Okay, it's the same thing. It's game. They're trying to get your mind all fixated on the fact to make you think that they have all this superpower over you. And those of you who are dumb, follow along with it and believe it. These fools don't have no power over you other than the power that you give them. You did that to yourself. They don't have nothing to do with what you think and what you do, especially when he's over there somewhere. You're choosing to act a fool. You're choosing to chase him. You're choosing to stalk him on social media. You're choosing to text him. You're choosing to call him. You're choosing to think about what he's doing, where he's going, and who he's with. You're making those choices. Own it. That's the first step to being, to take a responsibility for yourself like a grown woman should. This is ridiculous. Oh, he's sitting around here whining about these damn soul ties. Oh, just made me so mad. Okay, and then because you are codependent, you have a lot of painful emotions that you just really don't know what to do with. What most of you need to do is get your behind on somebody's couch. That's what you need to do. And work that out, because a lot of these things are carryovers from your early childhood. You were abandoned as a child. The love and affection that you got and the caretaking that you got from your parental units or whoever was taking care of you was very unstable, and it was sometimey. And as a baby, that depending that someone's going to be there for you if you cry and take care of your needs, meet your needs, is what makes you feel secure and grow up strong and have a good sense of yourself as being a person of value. Somebody cares about you enough to meet your needs and change your little poopy diaper and feed you when you're hungry and burp you when you have gas in your tummy and don't feel good and play with you when you feel lonely and sad. And you're tired of being in your crib by yourself. They come and get you out and talk to you and play with you and ride you around on the stroller and take you to the park. That's what little kids need. And if you had parents that did not provide you with that kind of consistent attention and affection, and you think you're going to get it now from these knucklehead narc dudes, that's what you're doing. You're pitching around trying to fill a void from childhood, that a big hole in your heart that these people left there. You can't do that to yourself. They're never going to be able to meet that need. And these narc dudes are not even going to try. They're just going to make the hole bigger because that's what they do. It's like trying to get a snake and say, well, snake, Mr. Snake, don't bite me. Don't bite me. And the snake's like, oh, yeah, of course. I'm not going to bite you. Yeah, we're friends and stuff. And then, I don't know. So you start trusting the snake and you dealing with the snake. And all of a sudden, I don't know where the snake bites the hell out of you. And then you're sitting there, oh, my God, what are you doing? I thought you said you weren't going to bite me. And the snake just looking at you like, but I'm a snake. I'm just doing what snakes do. Why are you mad? It's the same thing with a narc. He's just doing what narcs do. Okay, and if you don't understand what narcs do, you need to study up on them. Listen to some of the videos on this channel. I'll put some at the end of the video, and I'll be, linking some all the way through this. But in other words, you just really understand that it's very easy to break a soul tie when your mind is right. When you understand and accept reality, you are chasing after poison. Nobody and nothing is doing this to you. You are doing it to yourself. And once you stop this nonsense of trying to make some outside third party invisible something responsible for why you acting a fool, then you can stop acting a fool. It's that simple. It's that simple. It's called growing up, taking responsibility for yourself and making smarter choices, which is everything that I advocate on this channel. So like I said, if you've been running around talking about soul ties are real, you need to slap yourself. They're no more real than Fred Flintstone, okay? Barney Rubble, Barney the dinosaur, Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny. They're all in the same category. They're not real. Someone made them up. You just bit, okay? So that's what I wanted to say about soul ties. Of course, if you have some questions or some comments that you'd like to add, feel free to post them down below. But I know this is probably going to irritate a whole bunch of people because I've noticed, from the wall, from the YouTube channel wall, that a lot of you believe in this stuff. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself. I mean, you want to believe in God and Jesus and whatever, that's fine. You do that. I'm not telling you what to do about your religion. But I am telling you that as a mature adult woman, it is your responsibility to be accountable to yourself and be responsible for the choices that you made. No one else is making you do these things that you're doing. You're doing them. You're choosing to do them. Own it. Be a big girl. Get your grown woman on and stop. It's Deb Cooper from SurvivingDating.com. I'll be back with more Debsters and videos in another day or two.